2021 regular virtual.
Joe.
I'm sorry, sir.
Let me hit the record button.
I'm sorry. Yes, please.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Oh, well, just hang on.
This conference will now be recorded.
There you go.
Right, Joe.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, I called the meeting. I called the March 1st, 2021 regular virtual meeting of the Economic Development Commission to order at 6:31. My name is Joe Mira, Chairman of the EDC, and I will now give a brief introduction to those who are new to the GoToMeeting.
That's not my
format.
dog.
Members of the public, if you have joined the meeting by phone, computer, or smartphone, tablet, please enter your name below your camera's image. Also, please keep your camera inactive and your microphone mute during the meeting unless you're speaking. Since the system does not do well with multiple simultaneous speakers and the audio from only one person will be recorded, only one speaker will be recognized at a time. If people do not participate in a respectful manner, I will be forced to mute or hit the mute all button so that the person who has the floor can be heard. If you are participating by computer, tablet, or smartphone and want to ask a question or make a comment, please indicate that by typing in the chat bar, and you will be called upon in the order in which it's received. When you are called upon, please unmute your microphone, activate your camera, introduce yourself, state your name and address, ask your question, and make your comment. If you are participating by telephone, please introduce yourself with your name, address, ask a question, or make your comment. Anyone who refuses to give your name and address, or if someone is not respectful to this commission, you will be disconnected and blocked from the meeting. We will begin with the meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any discussion on the minutes, Jim?
No, I'd like to make a proposal that we accept the minutes as presented.
I second it.
Yep.
Joe,
Okay, excuse me, I should have said something earlier. We have Catherine taking the minutes. She's not familiar with us. So when you speak, if you wouldn't mind, please state your full name and then make your comment. So Catherine, that was Jim Wolf who made the motion and Rosemary Vanetta who seconded.
Joe, I do have some clarifications on the minutes, please.
You have some? Okay, please.
And Catherine and I and Lynn reviewed these changes today, so Catherine has them, but just to direct everyone's attention to line 48. And that line speak to the target areas. And it says New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We just need to add Connecticut before New England.
Okay.
On line 50, it's LinkedIn's Sales Navigator tool, not Site Navigator. Then line 53, I'll start on 52. It says Tim is concerned if comments must be allowed, won't be able to properly monitor and deal with them. That will be. Line 71, where Jim Wolf is making a comment, town center parking lot improvements was involved at the meeting, and the meeting went long. So we add the word went. Lastly, in line 108, it's Research Parkway, not Research Park. And those are all the changes
Thank you. Does anyone else have any corrections or adjustments? So we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, so let's move on.
Hey, Joe,
Yes, sir.
Mark Gingras is texting me saying he was just having trouble getting in. So I just resent him the link. So hopefully, I'm surprised he's not back in yet. So I'm going to suggest that I think the next item of business, well, if Mark is not on by the time the marketing committee report is due, you may just want to go to the other
Yep.
first.
Okay, fine.
I'm going to mute myself and see if I can help Mark get on.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, could we remind all the other people who are not speaking to mute themselves? Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay. Do we have any comments on the expenses report? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if this is directly, well, it is the expenses. Tim had made mention in his report that we were giving back the majority of $29,000, which was in marketing for, because of the pandemic, it wasn't used this year. And going back a few years, we had $50,000 that we had for engineering for the interchange, this Route 68 91 interchange, that we never used that either, and that ended up going back. And I know there's been discussion with what could possibly be allowed in the I-5, in the watershed. And I didn't know if any of that money was still available, if we could pay a professional firm to give us what is, what could reasonably be allowed in the watershed. But there was two large chunks of money that we never used. So I didn't know if that could be switched to, for a project like this. And maybe, I don't know, Tim, if you can jump in on that.
Okay, Jim. So I think you're referring to the 50,000 that we had earmarked to do an engineering study on the property behind the Hilton Garden Inn. I
That's
apologize.
correct.
I was trying to help someone get on and I missed some of what you're saying, but that's the money you're talking about. Is that correct?
Well, that's some of the money. That was 50,000 that we never used. And then in your report, you had mentioned that there was probably somewhere around 29,000 that was going to be given back this year because of the pandemic. We never used it for our promotions and so forth. So I didn't know if all this money that we did not use could be tunneled into a professional firm that could tell us what would be reasonably allowed in the watershed for the I-5.
Okay. So Jim, two things. First off, the 29,000 you're referring to, let me just correct that number. So 29,000 is our entire marketing budget. That's all of it. We will be giving back some of it, certainly not 29,000. So there's some left because we postponed our marketing campaigns due to COVID, only because to promote, business expansion and business growth during COVID is a little clumsy, right? So we decided not to do that. The 50,000 that was allocated, we had it for a couple of years. It was specifically about the property behind the Hilton Garden Inn, often referred to as the Ringrose and Gillespie pieces of property. It's roughly 50 acres, about 25 acres usable. We did have the property owners a year or so ago. We said, the town shouldn't be doing anything on private property unless the private property owners do something. So they had to have some skin in the game. So they did have the sites, wetland mapped, which is a big step. But we kept holding off on doing anything only because we kept hearing rumor that someone wanted to buy it. Both sites are in fact under contract right now. So I think we just let, the private sector take it from here. That 50,000 that was earmarked for that does expire at the end of this fiscal year. So if we don't use it by the end of June, it's going to disappear. But I would say that's okay. If the private entity buys the sites, and they're going to be doing the exact same thing we would have done. So does that answer your question, Jim?
No. I didn't know if we could funnel that money to getting a professional survey from somebody that could tell us what would be allowable in the watershed on the I-5.
Oh, well, it's a quick answer to that is no, because it's earmarked money, but you know that it is our position is that the town should be hiring a consulting firm that specializes in wetlands and upland wetlands and watershed development areas to give us, to do that report. So there's been no movement on that since last month. That the mayor had sent that letter out saying that he would have some movement by the end of this month. He put March 31st on that. I know in conversations that there's general support for having someone do exactly what you're saying. It just doesn't need to come out of that 50,000 because I think the town is going to do it anyway. And we've also done a little homework on something called design development districts to take a look at how and what can be done within environmentally sensitive areas. So I think right now that the mayor, our corporation council, the engineering department, and economic development, I think that's everybody, and public utilities, of course, are all working in concert to come up with some viable development plan. So,
Okay.
but I'm not the one pulling the trigger on it. We'll stay close.
I just thought if the money was there, it could possibly be used for that. That's all.
Yeah, I guess, if the mayor decides to redirect it and we can use it, I'd certainly support that by all means. But I think what you're saying is opposed to the means of allocating funding, the big picture is we need, in my opinion, I think in our collective opinion, because we've discussed it, we need a consulting firm that specializes in responsible development in sensitive environmental areas, specifically in watersheds, to give us some direction and give us some examples as to what has been developed in watershed areas around the country and how they've managed to protect their watershed. I mean, we want to see development in those areas, but we want to see the watershed protected. What right now, to sit down with public utilities, with all due respect, they have a position, we have a position, and we're gonna just sit down and rehash the exact same things over and over again. It's time to bring in someone else that can give us guidance and direction. So
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Jim, I'm on.
oh, okay, Mark, very good.
Thanks.
You're caller. Mark is caller too, Joe.
Okay. Catherine, do you have the names of everybody at the meeting, or should we read them off?
I think we've got him, Joe. You need a roll call, Catherine?
Okay, okay,
Joe, I have it. If she doesn't, I'll help her tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay, I'm
thank
I'm
you.
just missing the people who, Gov Media, caller 1.
Caller 1 is Rosemary, and caller 2 is Mark.
Mark
Thank-
Gingras.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mark or Patricia, the marketing, the committee is up.
Okay, why don't I start off with Patricia, you're on, right?
Yes, I am on. Yes.
Okay, great. Why don't I start off, then you can fill in. we've had another one since we met, probably 2 marketing committee meetings with the Quinnipiac students. We're moving along at a feverish rate at this stage of the game. A lot of things happening at one time. We started out with the website and the landing page for the EDC and for Wallingford. Welcome to Wallingford. Then we're going to get into winning for Wallingford. Then we got some innovative messaging coming. It's a beautiful page. We've actually changed just a little bit of it in this last meeting, but now we're at the fine tuning stage of the page. So if you get a chance to get on it, we'd appreciate it. And then any comments that you have, we'd look forward to. We are now working towards Facebook and social media, and we are just in our infancy with that. We have a really good person working on it, so I think that that'll come to maturity a lot more in the next couple of months. But we're starting to get some interest in it, and we're looking at, we think that we're going to be going after with Facebook. I hate to admit it, but we're going to be going towards an older demographic with that, but that's important. We want to hit all demographics as much as we can. LinkedIn, another one we're working on, and we have an excellent person on LinkedIn. And I think that through leads that we get on Facebook and other leads that we're getting outside of that, we'll be able to have a launch strategy that'll be perfect for LinkedIn. Anthony's been really helpful with that because he uses it quite a lot with his business, and he's been able to really help us on that. Then we're going to start working on Instagram. We're looking at audience development. We want to find some Wallingford businesses that we can go after with this. It'll be a younger demographic for the target audience, but we're hoping to bring something up 2 to 3 times a week with Instagram. We have a person who's working with email marketing, and that is, again, in its infancy. We haven't really gotten any formal launch on it yet, but we will in the next couple of weeks. What we'd like to do is develop a list of email accounts. So we ask the commissioners or anyone else that you know who can just send in, probably best into the office to Tim, any email addresses that we may or may not have. We'll try to cross-section that as time goes on, but we need a good, strong email address book in order to, and we have a fairly decent one now, but we want to build on that. Then the next thing that we're going into and discussing is, how do we measure our success? You know, what are the criteria that'll tell us what we're doing is right or wrong? And so we're having that kind of a discussion, and we're going to expand on that discussion, because we can do all these great things that we think are great, but at the end of the day, if it isn't turning out to be something that we're going to be successful with for the town, then we either have to alter it or abandon it, one or the other. Basically, that's it. We've been meeting probably every other week on a Monday, and I know we're going to be losing 2 of the students. We had 7. We're going to be losing 2 of the students pretty soon, but we still have 5 active ones, and then we'll start thinking about finishing out the school year with them. Questions or answers, or Patricia, you have anything to add to that? Or Anthony?
No, it was just that the students, the students did a top-notch job on the site. We also reviewed it to make sure it was consistent, the feeling of it, the vibe of it, the visual aspects of it. And we just got a really good media marketing team for a great price. So that's about it.
Yeah. Rob, you have anything to add to it, or Anthony?
They're shaking their heads.
No, I summarized everything very well, Mark and Patricia. Did a great job. It's very exciting. The kids are doing great. And I think, if anything, regardless of what we ultimately come out with, whether we'll find out which are successful and which aren't, but at least those questions will be answered. And it's a great foundation for the future for sure.
Yep, I agree.
Super, then that's my, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Hank, you got something to say?
I just wanted to ask Mark. Mark, I took a look at the site and I think it's just fantastic. I was wondering, are the Quinnipiac students responsible for doing that YouTube with the drone?
No,
No.
that was from our media from before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did that before. Remember, we did those Welcome to Wallingford, where for business, and we did it also for the quality of life in Wallingford.
Okay, the discs you sent. Well, I guess
Okay,
it's
again, excuse me. I'd like to remind everybody when you start talking, if you can state your full name. For the first few meetings, we do have a new person taking notes who's not familiar with us all.
And
Thank you.
no problems. I'm the one who had given the report, so my name is Mark Gingras.
Thank you. Okay, Tim, you have something to add?
Yeah, I just want to take a great report, Mark, and I will tell you that since our last meeting, Instagram did a launch on Saturday. So we put up 2 Instagram messages. So we're now live on Instagram. Email is live. We've run 3 messages on email. So every channel, LinkedIn, Instagram, email, college outreach, all live. The only one that is not live, and it's quite deliberate, is Facebook at this point. So anyway, I just wanted to, since we last met, Mark, we got all those things going. So it's been interesting. So.
I got a question on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do you have a listing of the people that follow you? I mean, do you know who's following you, or is that the way it works?
Yes.
You can tell who's following you.
You can.
Yep.
Because I had an alternative motive for that question. When you get a chance, see if I'm on it, because I think I hooked up. If I didn't, I want to redo it. Please, when you get a chance.
Okay.
Mark, I want to double that comment. You did a fantastic, your whole committee. You guys did a great job, really. I mean, and this is something that's going to be perpetuated for years to come. So, and in a relatively short period of time. So, kudos to all of you.
This is Mark again. I appreciate the comment, but it really goes to the committee and to the students, but most of all to Tim and Professor Tomczyk. They kind of took the ball. I mean, we gave the guidance and where we want to go, and they took the ball, and with the students really did a fantastic job. So it's mostly the students, Tim and and Professor Tomczyk, and that committee that we have. They're just wonderful people to work with.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Oh,
Anything
great.
else from the marketing? Jim, you have something to
Yeah,
say?
I'd just like to mirror what you said, Joe. I mean, I think the entire team did a great job. I know Mark just kind of pushed it off on the team, which is a great quarterback. But the team did fantastic. I think that's going to be something that other economic development commissions will copy in the years to come, without a doubt. They're a great job.
But if they copy, hope they don't go to Quinnipiac.
They'll probably play a consultant someplace. Okay, marketing, anything new? Anything else? I'm sorry. Not
We're all
like you
set,
didn't do anything, but I'm just asking.
All
Okay,
set, thank you.
okay, thank you. Thanks again, I appreciate it. Planning and zoning, Jim? Any updates on that, Jim Wolf?
Yeah, I really hate to disappoint anybody, but I really don't have anything.
Hank?
Everything's pretty much on hold. The 5 Research Parkway is on hold. Things are moving along at kind of at a slow pace. We haven't had any meetings. So unless you want to throw in anything, Tim or Hank, I really don't have anything.
Thank you. Hank?
No, Tim answered my question regarding where we were going with the I-5 and IX zone, so I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Retention, Rosemary, do you have any?
No, Joe, Rosemary Prunetta speaking. No, we had to cancel our meeting last Thursday, so we have not met. So there's really nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to the chairman's report. I sent you all the update on the unemployment figures that we have for the region. As you can see, there's problems in the region with unemployment. And I also sent you a copy of another pipeline program that we've put together. This is, like I mentioned earlier in earlier meetings, this is going to be the feeder source for other pipelines. This is going to give them a flavor of the 5 categories that are available. We're going to have speakers from each of those industries. If you would like to be a speaker, please don't hesitate to email me. Or if you'd like to participate in any other way, don't hesitate. But we're trying to get the pipelines back off the ground. We're hoping we can do them in person, but if we have to do it virtual, that's another option. But my feeling is the demographics we're looking to serve, it's going to be the in-person that's going to make the difference in their lives. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear, and I'll keep you up to date. Other than that, I'd really like to have Tim go into his staff report and comment on some of the things he has to say. Tim, please.
Joe, do you want to talk about the budget under your report, or?
No, you can cover it.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Joe just mentioned the pipeline programs. Another perfect example of how we can take and get the word out through our digital channels. So we can take and put out a message on, all of our digital channels to promote the pipeline program. So now that, and of course, we've got the mechanism there now, the infrastructure to send messages. We understand it. We understand the technology. Now we have to build audience. So audience development is a major focus, and that's not something that you do from, a certain time period. Audience development is part of the DNA of these programs. So we've got to be thinking audience development, all the time. So.
Excuse me, excuse me 1 minute. If I could make a comment to that end, when I send out those notices, I'm thinking I got a list of well over 1,000 names that I emailed to in a couple of days. Something to think about. Is there a way I could put a tag note on the bottom of those emails referring them to EDC sites? I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's a great thought. I think every message needs to have, what we call cross-pollination. So our webpage says follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram. I mean, so we send out an Instagram message, just follow us on LinkedIn and link to our webpage. All of it is cross-pollination of contacts. So, and just as a reminder to the commission, the Instagram is more of a local tool where we're going to get more of a local, in-state audience than we will out of state. But LinkedIn is going to be our champion to be reaching beyond, throughout Connecticut and beyond, as it's stated in the minutes. So, we'll use the tools and build the audiences accordingly. But it's not, build an audience for one. It's the same audience for all. They're individual efforts, but they are conjoined in a number of ways. So it will take some resource. And that's a good segue into the budget. I will be meeting with the mayor tomorrow morning to discuss the EDC budget for the 21-22 calendar year, which again, we're a July to June calendar fiscal year. So we are proposing the same budget that we had last year, because he has asked everybody to tighten the belt and not increase their budget. So we have not. I will remind the group that within that budget is a part-time person to be working in this economic development office. And yours truly would be reducing his hours in order to take and supplement another part-timer to come in and assist. And what I'd like, this was approved in last year's budget, but when we approved the budget last year, COVID hadn't, reared its head yet. So when it came time to implement, we kept pushing it off quite strategically. And it was me recommending that we not do it, because it's just, it was not the time to be in the market and be aggressive to try to reach out and build business. So, but I think now we are. I think, COVID is not over, but people have become accustomed enough to it, and there is a fair amount of business activity starting to happen again in the marketplace. So it's time to flip that switch. So this part-time person, assuming that it gets passed in the budget again, would be our digital media, would have a digital media focus, and would manage the messaging on all of our digital channels that we've now built out, and manage audience development, and along with other business contact initiatives. Right now, Lynn makes phone calls to new businesses every single month. We're hoping that this new person would be doing all that. So we'd have I'd have some assistance in doing those things so that we can do them more aggressively and frankly more effectively. So that's in that budget, and I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. So at this point, again, because it's the same dollar amount, there's no magic. The marketing budget's the same size, the supplies budget's the same size, et cetera. Payroll budget is the same size of what it was approved last year. Just we're going to be giving some back because we didn't, hire that part-timer. So I'll open it up to questions, because we will need a vote on that, Mr. Chairman, before we can put it aside. So any questions on the 2021-22 budget?
I don't have any.
So hearing none, then
Let's take a vote. Let's take a vote.
I'll make
Someone
a
want to make a motion? Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget as presented with no increase this year at all.
That's Mark
I'll
Jenkins.
second that.
I second the motion.
That's Rosemary. Okay, all in
Oh,
favor?
I forgot to say.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. It passes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence. Just a couple of bullet points I want to go through in my report. The Wallace Avenue and Simpson Court parking lots, I have spoken with the engineering department, and they are in the process of preparing RFPs to go out so that we can get those parking lots updated. We know that was approved by the town council, and I believe it was in their January meeting. In their January meeting, and then we had to wait 30 days to the end of February. And so here we are, green lighted. So that's happening. They're hoping to have those parking lots done by late spring, early summer. What a nice improvement that would be to our town center, to have all those parking lots, paved, new lighting. It's just going to spruce us up. No concrete blocks in the parking lot behind Simpson Court. All the effort that Mark and his group have made, in front of Simpson Court, with the lighting in the alleys. I mean, it's all coming together. So I think it's pretty exciting. So it's good stuff. I feel that I should, on a monthly basis, just report status on the Proton Beam Therapy Center. We do have them, a whole group of them coming in, a total of 7 on their construction team. They're coming in to meet with us on Wednesday. And they're meeting with our building officials, fire marshal, all of our public safety folks, public utilities, to make sure that their building plan that has been, they have received approval from Wetlands and from Planning and Zoning, but to make sure that everything goes like clockwork, so that all town officials that are in that decision-making process are in the room, and we keep that project moving. So all good green lights, all good solid signs there. Let's
Great.
see, I mentioned the I-5 already. And I think, Jim, you mentioned that as of today, certainly as of the time I prepared the report, there's been no further progress on the 5 Research Parkway and Amazon, their desire to put a warehouse up there. One thing that we have learned is that what they're looking to do up there is a food distribution warehouse. So as opposed to a, dry goods warehouse like they have in a lot of other facilities, or other 2 facilities in Wallingford anyway. They're planning to do food distribution up there, if in fact they get the proper approval. So they are still in the wetlands process. You have heard me, and frankly, probably tolerated me kind of whining a little bit about Connecticut Deep and the approval process that sometimes can be extremely onerous, sometimes extremely inconsistent. Frankly, the state has earned a well-deserved reputation for the fact that things don't go smoothly in many cases in that application process. Well, I'm here to give Connecticut Deep credit. I actually called the commissioner's office and spoke with them directly. They have launched what they call a client concierge service program, where if a project qualifies, so I guess it's scope. If someone's looking to open up a deli, this is not going to apply. But if someone's going to come in and open up something of some size, it doesn't have to be enormous either, but some size, scope, and consequence that needs DEP approvals, that there's a concierge now that has been assigned to take that applicant and make the connections, not call Joe, but get Joe in the room. They're going to bring these people together and walk them through the process. So I called them. I called the Department of Economic and Community Development, Commissioner Lehman, and said I just wanted to thank them on behalf of Wallingford and other economic development developers around the state, simply saying that it says a couple of things. It identifies that they understand that there's a problem, and they've taken the initiative and put the energy into solving the problem by addressing it through this concierge service. So we'll have to, time will tell. We'll have to see. But the bottom line is, I'm feeling very good about that. So I wanted to mention that a little bit more than the sentence I wrote in my report. I wanted to also mention, I think Kathy Lilly is still on the line. Yes, she is. So Kathy is very energetic, very creative, and you'll see on the bottom of my report, it talks about the first Wallingford Restaurant Week. This is not to be confused with the restaurant hop, but this is a restaurant week, and it's from March 4th to the 14th. So you can find all the details on the WCI website, and please do your best to take and patronize the restaurants. Again, Kathy has been very creative in helping out. Let's see. In the news section of my report, 5th bullet down, there was a story in the Record Journal about something called Along the Line. And it was about warehouse distribution facilities that are going up on Northrop Road. So this is where Northrop Road and Route 68, where the Courtyard Marriott is on the corner. You go down Northrop Road, you go by Radial, you go by several farms. All right, so the Meriden line is right where that, where that road starts to turn in a westerly direction. And there's a warehouse that's been approved on the Meriden side. And there's a warehouse, or there's at least been a project that has been partially approved on the Wallingford side. I want to bring that to the commission's attention because this is, in my opinion, all good news. However, that roadway is still an old farm roadway. It's narrow. It's a little bit, it's got some ups and downs to it. I think it's got some radius challenges when it comes to turning truck traffic. Even though the Meriden warehouse is in Meriden, they're going to be the most direct way to I-91 is through Wallingford's Northrop Road, left onto 68 onto the highway. So We may be, I've, had a conversation with the mayor, I've spoken with public utilities, engineering, simply saying, we have to have on our sites that Northrop Road at some point is going to need to be addressed. Or what's going to happen is we're going to get a project that we're going to get excited about, and it's going to die because the roadway won't handle the traffic. And let's not wait for that to happen. Let's manage the traffic ahead of time. So the engineering department has applied for some grant money to take and do a complete traffic study on Northrop Road and do a design engineering. Now, I don't know if they got the grant yet. They don't know yet. But we've got the attention of several departments saying, let's be proactive in trying to take and look at that roadway. So I just wanted to share that with the commission. I think the last thing I'll mention under the new and expanded businesses, there is a place called fourth bullet down by report, HD Seeger Insurance out on 10 Research Parkway. They came over from Cheshire. I tell you, they occupied a nice big office space over on Research Parkway. We're fortunate, it's a good size operation. They've got 70 plus employees, many of whom right now are working from home, mind you, but nonetheless, good size operation. And that was a nice win for us, as was MRC Global at 15 Sterling Drive. They did come to us from North Haven. And that's a good win as well. And there has been a fair amount of activity in the marketplace. So, COVID had things quiet for a while, but there's a fair amount of movement out there now. So keep your fingers crossed. We've got a couple of pretty sizable projects that are in discussions. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that is my report.
I have a question. Or
Thank you,
statement.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, for the record, Jim Wolf. Tim, going back to the property in Meriden, years ago when the auto auction was proposed, it was also deemed that the best direct route to I-91 was down that farm road. And I believe there might be some engineering that was done at that time. I don't know if it would be in our engineering office, but it was to accommodate the tractor trailers that carry cars in and out. And I know there was a study done on that. And it may save you some time and some money.
Very good, Jim. I'm making a note of that. I'll check with Allison Kapuscinski in engineering because, she's new to the position. Of course, Rob Poltermitis is running Public Works now, so he's familiar. But thank you very much for that. That's where institutional knowledge and history come in very handy. So you were here for that. None of us were. So thank you for that.
That's why you kept me around.
Tim, that was politely said, Tim. Very polite. Okay, listen, before we go, I just want to make a note. We're speaking of Joe, from the desk of Joe in the magazine, this next issue that's coming out, I guess this month or within the next couple of weeks. The focus this time is on the EDC and our mission. At too many meetings, it's been brought up that EDC is a weapon or a tool, if you will, for the mayor. And it's been unclear to the public exactly who we are and what we do, just from those meetings. So what we did is we put together an article basically outlining who we are and what we do. And basically, I'd like for you to make sure that if you get to see it, pass it along, because we're coming to another election year. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing all kinds of comments about what we don't do and what we haven't done and all those other negatives that people really don't understand what they're talking about, but they just make media buzz. So I just wanted to point that out when you get a chance to look at it. If you have any feedback, I'd like to know about it. And other than that, do we have anything from the new business for the community?
Joe, I'd like to make another comment if I may.
Sure.
So I just want to acknowledge the fact that for the third time in 3 consecutive months, this is Lynn's last meeting. So if I've done the math right, Lynn has done a little over 300 of these meetings over the last 30 years. I just want to say publicly, on record, how much I'm going to miss working with her. She has been fabulous. And, you know, again, she was supposed to retire January 1st, then February 1st. We are very fortunate in that we found someone with Catherine's talents to step in. They have been working, you know, shoulder to shoulder for all of last week. Again today, I think again tomorrow. Lynn has been just gracious with her time. I know her husband Doug is yanking on one arm while I'm kind of slightly tugging on the other. Publicly thank her again for everything she's done, the service she's provided to the town of Wallingford, and most especially to this commission in a very professional and classy way. So I thank you, Lynn.
I second that, Lynn. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree with what Tim said, Lynn. You're going to be missed. I know Catherine is going to be wonderful, but we will miss you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I truly enjoyed working with you guys, and I appreciate all the nice things that were said about me this evening, and actually since Tim has come on. He's a nice boss to work with. I've enjoyed it.
I don't know who's gonna bail me out, Lynn.
Catherine.
Good luck, Catherine.
We didn't tell you that part, Catherine. And I hope that we're going to see everybody. I did hear from most of you, but some of you have not replied yet, but we're having that luncheon on Friday at 12 o'clock in room 315. We're going to have some, you know, sandwiches brought in. So the way it'll work is because we need to keep the, you know, group small in size, that the EDC, the commissioners will come up. We will have, you know, our 45 minutes to an hour to say, to wish Lynn well and to thank her for her service. And then there's going to be some, we'll probably exit, and some other people around the building are going to come in shortly after that. So anyway, for those of you who haven't gotten back to me yet, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to eat your sandwich. So.
And I just want to kind of review that again. As was said, we have a new employee, Catherine, who really has to learn a lot about the business. I would ask that, especially over the next month or two, any emails that come out from the EDC that needs a response, if we could all please respond in a timely manner, giving her one less follow-up that she has to do as she's learning the new position. So if you could cooperate, I really would appreciate it. That being said, yes.
Are you directing that to me?
No, I'm directing it to me as well. I mean, I've gotten comfortable with Lynn's nasty phone calls. Why do you respond? But, you know, I've gotten over it. You know what I mean? I got a thick skin. Okay. That being said, we can talk all night. Does anybody else have anything else to say?
I have a question, and
yes,
I do. This is Rosemary Pranetta. I have a question, and I want to ask if I'm reading it right, that the 7-Eleven on North County Road was approved? Tim?
I am not, I don't believe it has been, Rosemary. I think it's, where are you reading that?
Just the wetlands?
Yeah, it received wetlands approval. Yes, I'm sorry, but the project it is not going in front of planning and zoning today. I think,
okay. All right.
I could be wrong, so please, you know, but I think that what planning and zoning is asking them to do is to come before them with an OSTA, the Office of State Traffic Administration report. Because a big question mark is the state of Connecticut Traffic Division going to allow them to put, you know, that facility there, given the, you know, it could potentially snarl traffic up pretty good. And, you know, they've got lights planned, they've got to realign some driveways to make sure they all face the right lights. So I think, and I stress that, I think that planning and zoning, it says it's kind of a moot point for BZC to go through the process if the state's not going to allow it. So let's find out what the state has to say first and then take it from there. That's my recollection, so.
And is one other question, is there anything in the works for the Wells Fargo building that you know of?
Great question. So I've received, frankly, quite a few phone calls from people who want to buy the building. So Wells Fargo, 86 North Main Street, has announced that they are going to shutter that branch facility. Not unusual in this day and age, you know, branch closures, branch consolidations happening throughout the banking world. So they're going to shutter the building now. I reached out to the regional folks, frankly, who were not really very helpful. So I think, you know, this is happening at a pretty high level, but they not only have the retail branch on the first floor, but they have offices on the second floor. And they brought up.
So do they own that building?
Well, that's the question mark. I believe they do. But in the land records, it's owned by a New Haven Bank and Trust or something. And what I'm trying to get clarity on, I'm assuming that through the acquisition process over a number of years that the same thing with Bank of America on 100 Center Street. You know, if you looked at the land records, it wasn't owned by Bank of America, it was owned by CBT. Well, but CBT bought Bank of America. So it's really Bank of America's building to sell. I believe that we'll find through the trace process that it's Wells Fargo's building to sell, although the records don't have Wells Fargo as the owner, it has another banking entity. So if that's the case, the question is, are they going to sell it? We've got people who have already expressed interest in wanting to buy it. So May 19th is when they said they were going to close the retail branch. I don't know what's going to happen with it at this point because all of the officials have been very tight-lipped and, you know, not calling me back and stuff. But if it's anything like Bank of America, what they did with Bank of America, if you remember, is it took about a year from the time they closed the branch to the time they sold the building. Only because the Bank of America retail, property division just had so many things going on that they just left it there until they were ready to deal with it. It had to fall into sequence. I'm hoping the Wells Fargo building will happen a little quicker, but very long answer, Rosemary. I'm sorry for that. But bottom line is I have not received confirmation from them that they're going to sell it, but intuitively, I can't imagine they wouldn't. I don't know why they'd want to hang on to it.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
That's Jim Wolf. Do we have a second?
Patricia Symbol, I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Again, it's unanimous. Thank you. We'll see you Friday, Lynn. And again, welcome, Catherine.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
And to all the
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.